Dinner with Marcus, 7 p.m. Rosewood Hotel. That notification appeared on my phone at 6:14 p.m. on a Thursday in March. I was sitting in our apartment in Portland. Rain was hitting the window behind me. The weird part? I'd never heard of anyone named Marcus. Let me back up. My name is Derek. I'm 31, and I work in logistics for a shipping company. Megan and I had been together for 3 years. We'd been engaged for 4 months. We'd just renewed our lease and combined our finances. Joint checking account, shared bills, all of it. She was an interior designer at a small firm downtown. Things felt stable, maybe even boring in the best way. About 6 months earlier, we'd synced our Google calendars. It was practical. We needed to coordinate around my shift schedule and her client meetings. I'd see her events pop up on my phone. Site visits, consultations, vendor appointments. Nothing unusual. I barely paid attention to most of them. So when Dinner with Marcus appeared, I almost scrolled past it. But something made me stop. Megan had told me she was working late that night. A client meeting that would run until 8 or 9. I'd ordered takeout for myself, pad thai from the place on Belmont. But here was a calendar event saying dinner at a hotel restaurant. I clicked on it. The event had been created 2 weeks earlier. It was marked as recurring, every other Thursday. I scrolled back through the calendar. These dinners had been happening for 4 months, since just after we got engaged. 8 dinners. All at the same hotel. All on nights she told me she was working late. I sat there with that cold pad thai container in my lap. The smell of peanut sauce suddenly made me nauseous. If any of this sounds familiar to you, hit that like button. I wish I'd had someone to talk to that night. I had 2 choices. Confront her immediately or wait and see what else I could learn. I chose to wait, not because I'm patient, because I needed to understand what I was actually dealing with. Was Marcus a client, a colleague I'd never heard of? Maybe there was an explanation, but my gut already knew. My brain just hadn't caught up yet. The next day at work, I searched during my lunch break. Marcus plus Portland plus interior design. Nothing obvious came up. I tried the Rosewood Hotel, high-end boutique hotel with a French restaurant. Average dinner for 2 ran about $200. Megan and I had never been there. She'd never mentioned it. I checked our joint credit card statement. No charges from the Rosewood. She was paying cash, or someone else was paying. 2 weeks later, I left work early. The next Thursday dinner was scheduled for 7. I parked across the street from the Rosewood at 6:40. The hotel had this brass revolving door, a small awning with their logo. Rain was coming down steady. My car smelled like the pine air freshener Megan had bought. I remember thinking how strange that was, to be watching from my fiancé surrounded by her choices. She arrived at 6:55. She was wearing a dress I'd never seen. Dark green, fitted. She'd curled her hair. Megan usually wore her hair straight. She walked in alone. I waited. 15 minutes later, a man walked in. Late 30s, gray pea coat, expensive-looking watch. I watched him through the brass door. He walked like someone who owned the room. I sat in that car for 2 hours. The rain got heavier. I watched couples walk in and out of the hotel, valets parking cars, a woman laughing under the awning, normal people having normal evenings. Meanwhile, my fiancé was inside, with a man she'd been seeing for months, while I thought we were planning a wedding. At 8:47, my phone buzzed. It was Megan. Hey, meeting running late, probably another hour, don't wait up, heart emoji. I stared at that message for a long time. She was 40 feet away from me, inside a hotel, and she was texting me lies with a heart. They came out at 9:20, walking close, but not touching, like people who knew how to be careful. He hailed a cab. She walked to the parking garage. They didn't kiss, but he touched the small of her back just for a second. The kind of touch that's too familiar to be professional. I drove home a different route. I needed the extra time. Over the next week, I paid attention. I noticed things I'd missed before. How she always showered before bed on Thursdays, how she'd started buying nicer underwear, how she'd gotten a new perfume she said was from a coworker. I checked her desk one afternoon when she was out, found a business card tucked in her planner, Marcus Webb, real estate development, direct line written on the back in her handwriting. I looked him up. Marcus Webb, divorced. Owned a development company. Megan's firm had done work on 2 of his properties. That's how they met. Client relationship that became something else. He was wealthy, successful, everything I was still working toward. And he'd been taking my fiance to dinner every 2 weeks in a hotel that costs more than our monthly grocery budget. I confronted her on a Sunday evening. No yelling, no accusations. I just asked one question. Who's Marcus? The color drained from her face. She sat down slowly. Her wedding planning binder was on the table between us. I'd put it there on purpose. She left that night, stayed with a friend. The next morning, she texted me, "I'll get my things this week. I'm sorry, Derek. I really am." I didn't respond. I just started looking for a new apartment, somewhere without her pictures on the walls, somewhere that didn't smell like her perfume. It's been 5 months now. I moved to a different part of the city. I deleted the shared calendar, changed all my passwords. Not because I'm paranoid, because I needed a clean start. I still think about her sometimes, not with anger anymore, just with confusion. How do you plan a wedding with someone while hiding another life? I'm not rushing into anything new. I'm focused on work, going to the gym more, reconnecting with friends I'd neglected. The wedding fund became a travel fund. I'm thinking about Iceland next spring. Life keeps moving even when someone tries to derail it. Here's my question for you. Have you ever discovered something about a partner through shared technology, something they didn't realize you could see? Drop your story in the comments. I read every one. Subscribe for the next story. Coming up, a woman finds out her husband's work trips were all to the same city where his ex-girlfriend still lived. Here's my question for you. Have you ever discovered something about a partner through shared technology, something they didn't realize you could see? Drop your story in the comments. I read every one. Subscribe for the next story. Coming up, a woman finds out her husband's work trips were all to the same city where his ex-girlfriend still lived.